We have team coverage this morning. Our Sydney Stallworth is at Lindell and Union, and Walker Lawson from our sister station in Charlotte is helping us out this morning. He is at Delhaven Manor Nursing Home.
But let's get over to weather impact meteorologist Gary Frank. And Gary, sadly, there's another round of storms headed our way.
Yeah, there will be much different than the last one. So first and foremost, want to let you know that. But we also, any storms right now are not helpful in the recovery effort simply because anytime it's raining outside, that's difficult. We have a lot of people that have windows and roofs that don't have a tarp on them, and we're adding to that rain. Positive news for us this morning. This is not severe weather. It'll be out of here pretty quickly. We'll have a nice window to prepare for much heavier rain and severe weather later on today. Let's focus on some of this rain here from O'Fallon, Troy, Ellsbury, Jerseyville, and Alton. It's light to moderate rain. That's some of the spots where we had at least some wind damage. And there is one thunderstorm that's just crossed into Cuba on 44. Those will be very few and far between as we go at this hour. And the back edge of things are going to clear out pretty quickly. I'm optimistic that it will be dry fairly quickly for us. But our severe weather threat is later on today, specifically this evening. And you'll notice the moderate risk, which is the much higher risk than we have here. That's off to the southwest. That's not in our area. We're under a slight and moderate risk, and it's a slight and enhanced risk. That's level 2 and 3 from the Storm Prediction Center. That's going to be much later in the day. Temps in the mid-60s here, and we'll continue to see our chances go up by 6 o'clock, and that's where our next weather impact alert day continues as we talk about that. And I also want to bring you up to date on why things are much different with this round of severe weather, but also talk about the one that happened on Friday. And speaking of the one on Friday, I know, Paul, you're kind of dealing with that as well, so we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Paul's tracking some side roads that are difficult to navigate around that area, as we know.
All right, thanks so much. Okay, so we, of course, are tracking the latest on recovery efforts across St. Louis. Parents and caregivers, this is really important information because this morning we can tell you that Clayton Public Schools, Central Christian School, and Forsyth Schools are all closed today.
And if you have kids in the St. Louis Public Schools, you want to listen up. There are some important notes that just came in from the district. Our Sydney Stallworth joins us now. She is near Soldan High School, just a few blocks from the intersection of Delmar and Union. And Sydney, what are the big changes for parents this morning?
Well, Rennie, Michelle, I have to tell you, you will not see those yellow school buses running down your street or any other street. Our newsroom has confirmed that St. Louis Public Schools will not be providing public transportation in the wake of Friday's tornadoes and severe storms. If you take a look behind me, you can see why. We have extreme levels of debris. We're just off of Union this morning. You see some machinery to try to clear that. Caution tape up as this street is blocked. And as we move over to the other side of the street, take a look at the damage to this home. The room, the top floor, completely torn down. Like I mentioned, we are just a couple of blocks away from Soldan High School, one of the dozens of schools that are closed today in the St. Louis Public School District because of damage or lack of power. Parents, here's what you need to know this morning. I'm breaking it down into 3 easy points to digest from what we're learning from St. Louis Public Schools. The first one, the most important, the district says the main bus depot was damaged, and so a lot of roads, of course, you'll see are still impassable. This means if your child normally rides a bus to school, you have to work to find alternative transportation. Number 2, school will be happening, but 12 schools will be rerouted to other campuses. I'm going to show you which ones in just a second, so stay with me. Number 3, we know why a lot of families are hurting this morning. They lost everything in the storm, including food. The district is giving students free sack meals at all open schools starting at 7 a.m. this morning. They'll also be serving lunch too until the last day of school on Thursday. So if you're wondering if your child's school is impacted, take a close look at your screen right now. Here's a chart that shows the 12 schools whose students will be located. You'll see Soldan on that list, not far from where we are this morning. On that left side, it lists the schools that are closed. Take a look at that middle column. That's showing you where the students can report to go to class today. Here's a heads up. The district is also being understanding of the fact that some families may not be able to transport their kids themselves to school after the storm. Now, if that is you, and if you're in need of resources, if you're in need of answers or connection, the district is having a community outreach fair from SLPS. That'll be for families who have been impacted by Friday's tornadoes. It's going to be today from 10 a.m. to 2 at the SLPS Central Office. So I put the address on your screen. Take a screenshot, take a picture if you need to go. They will have food for you. They will have hygiene supplies and options for help for families trying to recover. Now, if you needed a closer look at that chart that I showed you that had the 12 schools that are closed this morning, don't worry. Go to ksdk.com. We have the full list available for you so that you can see how your child's school is impacted. Now, in our next next half hour, we're going to hear directly from the superintendent about the decision to continue to have classes and how they're navigating this very tough scenario, as you can see. And also, what does this mean for our high school students who have finals coming up? I have those updates for you later on this morning on Today in St. Louis. I'm Sydney Stallworth, 5 on your side.
Thank you, Sydney. We have heard so many stories of resilience during the storm, and one place that was hit hard was Delhaven Manor, a nursing home in the Central West End.
And that's where we find Walker Lawson for us this morning. And Walker, where did these residents go and what does it look like out there?
Well, yeah, there were around 79 to 80 residents that were moved to other Delhaven Manor locations across the state of Missouri, some of them up to 3 hours away. Now, they were able to get them out of here within 12 hours after that tornado hit. Now, employees that rode out the tornado here said that the pressure was so strong that windows and doors were popping. Now debris remains scattered across this area here, and they actually have employees that are staying the night over here. We're gonna pan over and show you employees currently sitting in their cars. That's because they say that they're trying to make sure that no one gets into the building. We also see a law enforcement presence out here. And it looks like we have gotten some power on this street. On the opposite side, we're actually starting to see that buildings have light again. But for the majority of our ride into this area from downtown St. Louis, again, had no power for most of the drive here. And again, this building without power. Now, yesterday when we came out, they said they were putting their tarps up and putting up ways to protect the building for potential rain and wind. We spoke to the administrator yesterday about some of the damage that they've seen out here so far.
Well, most of the things, we got a lot of broke windows. We had some damage from the windows being broke. Truly the roof is going to need replaced, but compared to everybody else in the neighborhood, our old buildings kind of stood up pretty well compared to some of the other buildings.
And coming up at 6, you'll hear from some of the employees who say they are ready to get back to work and to bring these residents back here, and how they say they are doing that. Back to you guys.
All right, great job, Walker. We are definitely going to be dealing with some crowded traffic here downtown. If you're you want to check and make sure you are working. There's going to be folks walking to work that already live downtown, and lots of branches still in the road. We're talking about sharp debris. You just want to be super aware as you make a turn onto a roadway. Maybe it's Delmar. Maybe you work near the hospital, Kings Highway. Very crowded there as far as trucks trying to rework electricity, and a little bit further to the north. So we're talking just past the Chase. You've got lots of debris in the roads, and it's all in basically this area that you're seeing right now. Newstead, like we talked about, Grand, and then of course Kings Highway, as I mentioned. All along there, we still have lights that are out, and you're just going to see the stop sign because there's a lot of equipment being used that's right in the middle of the intersection and nothing else. So make sure you stop, look around, and of course don't take anything for granted as you are cruising around out there. Also, just beware of pedestrians. Leave early if you work downtown. We'll take a closer look at more of the surrounding areas here in just a second. Michelle.
All right, thanks so much, Paul. So we've been talking about these power outages, of course. The Ameren map is what we've been looking at. If you remember, over the weekend, Ameren said it could take several days to get power back on. We just heard from Walker, who said, hey, he started to see some lights on in some buildings. We can tell you right now about 32,000 people are still without power. That is down from 100,000 people on Saturday. And if we look here at some of the points, this is one area, this is the second area. I was looking here, we've got 7 outages here. I saw one that was like 170 outages. But again, these are numbers that are coming in. Here we go, right here. So I'm going to zoom in here. Of course, this is right by the Ville neighborhood that we're talking about in North City. So about 175 people, or I should say power outages reported. Nonetheless, you can see just how great this is. So many people across Missouri and Illinois. Illinois, though, down quite significantly now. Only about 400 customers without service. Saturday, that was more like 20,000. So we can tell you that progress is being made. Of course, that doesn't help people who are without power this morning. Nonetheless, the latest numbers again, about 32,000, Rennie.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Right now, there are several ways to help our neighbors in need. We have a complete list on KCK.com on supply drop-offs and donations, or you can text the word STORM to 314-425-5355, and we will send that list straight to your phone. And 5 on Your Side has partnered with United Way to help families impacted by last week's devastating storms. Every dollar stays right here in our community. Just scan the QR code on the screen in order to donate.